She laughed outside the door. Not a sweet laugh. Not the kind she used to give me. This one was sharper. Almost flirtatious. I stood perfectly still, staring at the table I'd spent 4 hours preparing. Not with food. Not with flowers. With proof. Printed pages, screenshots, location logs, even a receipt from a seafood place across town. She's allergic to shellfish, but apparently not when she's with him. The doorknob turned. I didn't blink. She stepped in, mid-giggle, holding her phone and a half-finished iced tea. One of those oversized ones with lipstick smeared on the straw. Her heels clicked like punctuation against the hardwood. "Oh," she said when she saw me. "Didn't think you'd be home yet." She noticed the table next. And that's when everything stopped. She didn't drop the tea. She didn't gasp. Not yet. She just froze. There were 6 envelopes, each one labeled with a month. And inside each, the story she didn't think I knew, written by her own hands, texts, pictures, appointments, lies. I didn't say anything. She stepped closer. "What is this?" she asked, her voice lower now. I shrugged. "Lunch, right?" That's what she told me. Lunch with an old friend. The same excuse she'd used 6 times this month. Every Thursday. Same time. Same vague smile when she left. But this time I had the bank statement from her secret card. The Uber receipts. The time-stamped photo a friend sent me, from a bar 2 neighborhoods over, showing her sitting way too close to a man I'd never seen before. And the worst part? She looked happy in that photo. Not fake happy. Not the tired smile she gave me at dinner. Genuinely happy. She reached for one of the envelopes, fingers shaking slightly. I stopped her. "No need," I said. "You already know what's inside." That was when she finally gasped. But not from guilt. From fear. Because she realized the game wasn't just up. It had been flipped entirely. She didn't speak. Not really. Just kept darting her eyes across the table like she was trying to solve a puzzle she didn't know she'd been a part of. One envelope was slightly open, and she glanced at it like it might bite. For a second, I wondered if she'd lie again, say it was all photoshopped, or deny the receipts, or pretend I'd misunderstood the context of her texts where she called me the roommate. But she didn't. That scared me more, because it meant she knew she was caught. Fully. No wiggle room. No spin. No acting. I waited for rage, or tears, or maybe even laughter. She had a weird way of laughing at things when she got nervous. But instead, she just asked, "Who helped you find all this?" That question told me everything. She wasn't shocked that she'd been discovered. She was shocked that I, the guy she always treated like the least observant man on earth, had actually pieced it together. She thought I was soft. And maybe I was. I mean, I am. I don't know how to fight. I get anxious ordering takeout. I once cried because my favorite coffee mug cracked in the dishwasher. I'm not proud of that, but I was done being blind. I told her I didn't need help. I told her I just stopped trusting the version of her she was selling me. And when I said that, I saw something flicker across her face. Not guilt. Panic. Real, desperate panic. Not because of the betrayal itself, but because she was realizing just how much she stood to lose. "What do you want?" she asked, voice suddenly too calm. Calculating. I didn't answer. I just walked over to the kitchen drawer and pulled out a manila envelope she hadn't noticed yet. This one wasn't full of texts or receipts. It was full of copies of everything. Neatly documented. Time-stamped. Signed. And already mailed out to a separate P.O. box. I told her that, too. And then, I said the one thing that finally cracked her. "I'm not going to scream. I'm not going to beg. But I am going to make sure you remember this table for the rest of your life." That's when she stepped back, like she'd just realized the house was on fire and she was standing in the middle of it. Because for her, it kind of was. And I was done holding the match. She followed me into the hallway like a shadow, her voice suddenly syrupy, like I hadn't just spent the past week uncovering lie after lie. "Okay, I get it, you're mad," she said, like I'd caught her hiding a Target receipt, not living a double life. "Can we just talk about this without the drama?" I didn't answer. I couldn't, because I didn't trust my own mouth not to explode into 1,000 ugly, desperate questions. Like why she called him my only piece in that message. Or why she deleted our wedding photos off her Instagram the same weekend she lost her phone. But most of all, I wanted to ask when exactly I became invisible to her. When did I stop being enough? She placed a hand on my shoulder. It used to feel warm. Now it just felt like pressure. Fake. Like everything else lately. "Grinning," she whispered, my name, in that careful voice people use when they're not sorry, just caught. I made a mistake, okay? It didn't mean anything. That part broke me in a whole new way. Because I'd read every word, every emoji, every plan, every secret hotel booking she'd made with him in a town we'd never even been to together. If that didn't mean anything, what did? I finally turned and looked her in the eye. You brought him to my uncle's funeral, I said, barely recognizing my own voice. You said he was a co-worker who just needed to get away from the city. I paid for his hotel. Her face went pale. I could see the calculation happening in real time. She was scrambling for a new angle. One where she wasn't the villain. One where I might still fight to keep her. It wasn't like that, she said, but the words landed flat. Even she didn't believe them. I stepped past her and opened the hallway closet. Pulled out the bag I'd packed 2 nights ago. She noticed it immediately, and her calm shattered. Wait, where are you going? She asked, the panic rising in her throat like bile. Somewhere you're not, I replied. And somewhere he won't be welcome, either. That's when she started crying. Big, loud, desperate sobs. The kind I used to beg to hear back when I felt her slipping away. But now it felt like watching someone grieve over a fire they lit themselves. She tried to block the door. You're overreacting. You can't just leave. And that's when I said something that even surprised me. I didn't leave, I whispered. You did. Weeks ago. I'm just catching up. I walked out into the cold air, unsure where I'd go next. But for the first time in forever, I knew I wouldn't be begging anymore. I didn't go far. Just to the car. I sat in the driver's seat, hands still shaking, staring at the windshield like it could show me what the hell to do next. Leaving felt good, for about 11 seconds. Then reality hit. Where was I even supposed to go? I didn't have a plan. I'd fantasized about this moment, sure. But in those fantasies, I was strong, confident, dramatic. In real life, I was freezing, exhausted, and trying not to cry in a Walgreens parking lot. I didn't call anyone. I didn't want pity. I just started scrolling, aimlessly, like a habit. But then I remembered something. The one thread I hadn't pulled yet. In one of the text screenshots I found, she'd mentioned his name. Not his full name, just Link. Short for Lincoln, I guessed. It stuck with me. Not many people go by that. And when I dug deeper, through her old Venmo payments, I saw it. She sent money to someone named Link P. Twice. One was labeled for parking, and the other? Just a single black heart emoji. Classy. So I searched. Social media. Mutual follows. Nothing at first. But then I searched my own photos. Yeah, my photos. And I found him. He was in the background of a picture I took 6 months ago, at our anniversary dinner. I remember handing my phone to the waiter. Marlon had smiled so wide, pretending we were happy, while this guy, this same Link, stood 2 tables back, laughing with a group. I zoomed in and nearly dropped my phone. Because I recognized the guy next to him. It was my cousin. My blood. I sat there, heart racing, as the pieces slammed together. She hadn't met this guy through work. She hadn't met him online. She met him through my family. And suddenly a whole bunch of things made sense. The weird tension at the family barbecue. The way my cousin stopped inviting us to game nights. How Marlon always insisted I should let him win for once, like she owed him something. This wasn't just betrayal. This was infiltration. I called my cousin. Straight to voicemail. No surprise. I scrolled through our old messages, trying to see when it started, trying to understand how long they'd been hiding this. And that's when I noticed something else. Months ago, he'd texted me a photo of his new car, a midnight blue sports coupe. Guess what color the Uber was that picked Marlon up on girls' night last Friday? I felt sick. Not just because of her, but because he sat across from me at Christmas and passed me mashed potatoes with the same hands he used to. I can't finish that sentence. All I knew was, this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I wasn't going back in that house. But I wasn't going to disappear, either. Now I had 2 people to confront. I didn't sleep. I didn't even try. I spent the night in my car, engine off, eyes open, replaying every family gathering, every toast, every inside joke, and seeing it all through a different lens. They played me. Both of them. For how long, I still didn't know. But it was enough. I couldn't sit with it. I needed answers. And not polite ones. At 7:14 a.m., I drove straight to my cousin's place. I remembered the apartment complex from when I helped him move in last year. Funny how I carried his couch, not realizing he'd later carry my wife. I didn't even knock the first time. Just stood there for a second, fists clenched, trying to decide if I wanted closure or revenge. The line between them had started to blur. When he finally opened the door, he looked half awake, shirtless, holding a protein shake like nothing in the world was wrong. "Yo," he said, like I was early for breakfast. I didn't speak right away. I just stared at him. And then I said the one name I hadn't said aloud yet. "Marlon." He blinked, didn't flinch, didn't gasp, just exhaled through his nose like he'd been waiting for this conversation. "Okay," he muttered, stepping aside. "Come in." I shouldn't have, but I did. His place was clean. Too clean. No signs of her, at least not visible ones. But everything felt off. Silent. Like the walls had heard things I wasn't ready to know. "I guess you figured it out," he said, sitting on the edge of his couch, elbows on his knees, staring at the floor. No apology. No defense. "How long?" I asked. He shrugged. "I don't know. We didn't plan it. It just happened." I laughed. A dry, broken kind of laugh. "You slept with your cousin's wife, and your answer is, it just happened." He looked up, annoyed. I didn't say it was right. But it's not like you two were exactly thriving. That line hit me harder than I expected. Not because he was wrong, but because he knew. He'd seen our cracks, our distance, and instead of helping, he pried them wider. "She cried in my arms," he added. "Said you didn't see her anymore. Said you were more in love with your job than her." "She said the same thing to me." I shot back. "About you." That made him pause, just for a second. But I saw it. The doubt, the flicker of betrayal finally hitting him. Because maybe, just maybe, he thought he was special. I stood up. I didn't punch him. I didn't yell. I just said, "You deserve each other. But you won't get each other. Not anymore." As I walked to the door, he called out, "So what? You're just done? You're gonna vanish?" I turned back. "No," I said. "I'm going to bury the past. And you too are the dirt." And then I left. Not for revenge. For reinvention. I didn't go back home. I didn't call her. I didn't even block her. I knew silence would burn louder than any outburst ever could. And it did. Within hours, the texts started coming in. Not dramatic at first. Just soft, cautious check-ins. "Hey, where are you? Can we talk? You left your charger." As if my phone dying was the biggest crisis we had. But I didn't reply. I was at a bank. Not mine, hers. Or rather, ours, according to the joint account she had all but forgotten I still had access to. She must have thought I'd never use it. That I was too passive, too spineless. But that account, it was in my name too. And the money in it? Half of it was mine, or more, depending on how you measured damage. I didn't empty it. I wasn't stupid. That would have triggered alarms. Instead, I transferred a quiet $3,500, just enough to fund what I needed next. A lawyer, a new lease, a storage unit, and something else I never thought I'd buy in a million years, a burner phone. Not because I had something to hide, but because I needed space to move. Quietly, without her seeing it coming. 2 days passed before she really panicked. Her calls came faster now. Her tone changed in the voicemails, from sweet to nervous to angry. She said I was being immature, that disappearing wasn't going to fix anything, that I was acting like a child. I wanted to scream, but I didn't, because while she was pacing around the house rehearsing her next manipulative line, I was at the county records office filing for a separation under my own name. No more us. No more signatures side by side. Just me, signing away everything I once thought was permanent. That night, I finally broke the silence. I sent her one photo. It wasn't a selfie. It wasn't a text. It was a picture of the kitchen table. Our table, completely bare. No envelopes. No stacks of evidence. Just a single sheet of paper in the middle. The divorce paperwork. Signed. Stamped. Waiting. She called instantly. I didn't answer. Then she tried again. By the 7th call, I turned my phone off. Not because I was trying to be cruel, but because I wasn't her victim anymore. I was something she never expected me to become. Done. It was raining the day she showed up. Not a poetic drizzle. An aggressive, sideways storm that rattled the windows of my new apartment. I hadn't given her the address, but I wasn't surprised. Marlon was always good at finding things when she wanted to. She just never used that skill for us. I heard the knock first, then the banging, then her voice, loud, soaked, shaking. "Brennan, open the door. We need to talk." I didn't move at first. I was sitting on the floor, leaning against a stack of boxes I hadn't unpacked. I'd been eating cereal out of a plastic measuring cup, staring at a wall I hadn't decorated, wondering if life would ever feel normal again. And then that voice, that same voice that used to whisper, "I love you," in the dark, was screaming through my door like a stranger. When I finally opened it, she didn't look like the version of herself I used to know. Makeup running, jacket dripping, her eyes wild, like she hadn't slept in days. "I saw the paperwork," she said, pushing past me without waiting. "You're really doing this?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The apartment spoke for itself. Half furnished, half forgotten, fully mine. She paced, arms folded. "You're seriously throwing away 8 years because of one mistake?" I laughed, bitter and hollow. "You didn't make a mistake. You built one. Over months. With my cousin." That shut her up. For a second. But then she shifted. Her tone changed. Something colder. "Okay," she said, stopping in front of my kitchen table, the cheap one I'd bought off Facebook Marketplace. "Then I hope you're ready for what comes next." I froze. What's that supposed to mean? She pulled something from her bag. A small, manila envelope. My stomach dropped. Inside, photos. Of me. At the bank. At the courthouse. At the apartment complex. Nothing illegal. But framed the wrong way. Embarrassing. Manipulative. She smiled. Not a soft smile. A weaponized one. "You disappear. You leave me. You ruin my life? Fine. But I can ruin yours too." For a moment, I couldn't breathe. I had expected guilt, denial, even tears. But not this. Not blackmail. Not leverage. She thought I'd beg her to stop. That I'd cave like always. But instead, I walked to my bedroom, opened the drawer, and pulled out a flash drive. I tossed it on the table next to her photos. She frowned. "What's that?" "Back up," I said quietly. "Everything I found. Every text. Every video. One of them includes you laughing about how easy I am to manipulate." Her face went pale. I leaned in. "If you want to go nuclear, Marlon, I promise I've got the bigger bomb." She stared at me, breathing hard. This wasn't a conversation anymore. It was war. And she knew she'd just lost the first battle. She didn't say anything after that. She didn't have to. Her silence said it all. For the first time in years, she realized she couldn't control the narrative anymore. Not with guilt, not with tears, and definitely not with threats. I didn't yell. I didn't gloat. I just watched her try to piece together the shards of whatever power she thought she still had. But I was already gone. Not physically, not yet. But emotionally, spiritually, I had nothing left to give her. No explanations. No forgiveness. No version of myself that still believed we were worth fixing. I walked to the door and held it open. She hesitated like she wanted one last word, some final spell to pull me back. Instead, she just muttered, "I didn't think you had it in you." I looked her straight in the eye and replied, "Neither did I." She walked out slowly, clutching her bag like it was the only thing holding her together. And when the door clicked shut behind her, it was quiet. Not empty. Not cold. Just quiet. Peaceful even. I exhaled. Not out of relief, but out of release. The next few weeks were strange. I got used to silence. To space. To not flinching every time my phone buzzed. I signed the final documents. I changed the locks. I switched bank accounts, passwords, everything. My cousin tried reaching out once. I blocked him without reading the message. There was nothing left to say. If betrayal builds a fire, I'd already let it burn through me. There was nothing left but ash and new soil beneath it. I started running again. Not from anything. Just for me. I called an old friend I hadn't seen in years. Someone who used to tell me I was funny when I didn't even believe it myself. We got coffee. We talked for 3 hours. I didn't mention Marlon once. I didn't need to. Because she was no longer the center of my story. I was. That kitchen table, the one where it all blew up, it's gone now. Replaced by a small round one I found at a thrift store. It's nothing special. A few scratches. A wobble if you lean too hard. But it's mine. And every time I set something on it, my laptop, my coffee mug, a book I'm finally reading, it reminds me. Not all endings are losses. Some are freedom. And I've never felt lighter.